Welcome to the Pharmacy Podcast Show. You're listening to the first and only podcast dedicated to the business of pharmacy. You can find all of our episodes at pharmacypodcast.com.
This is Jim Springer. I'm with RxOwnership, a division of McKesson Corporation. I'm currently Vice President of the South Region, and you're listening to the Pharmacy Podcast.
Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I'm excited about today's show as I bring to the Pharmacy Podcast Network something that is extremely important in order to keep pharmacy going, healthy in community pharmacy, as well as other facets, long-term care, specialty pharmacy. We're talking about Rx ownership today. Pharmacy ownership transfer and purchasing and selling has never been more complex. And with that, the entity called RxOwnership, exactly the way it sounds as it's spelled, was created with one purpose, and that is to help pharmacy professionals with the sale, purchase, or transfer of independent pharmacies. I want to welcome Jim Springer, a champion in community pharmacy as well as the business of pharmacy. Jim, welcome to the Pharmacy Podcast.
Thank you for that introduction. Very much appreciated. I'd like to kind of step back a little bit and kind of give you a bit of a history of how we got RxOwnership started. Of course, we are a division of McKesson Corporation, and about 8 years ago, we actually initiated the program. But it came about because, quite frankly, up to that point, independent pharmacy owners really didn't have any option when they thought about retiring or thought about selling their pharmacy. They really didn't have any other option other than to perhaps look at the national chains as their exit strategy partner. There just simply weren't any other options available to them. And we as a distributor had no option but to sit back and kind of watch some of our very good independent pharmacies go by the wayside. Because again, there just simply wasn't any option. So RxOwnership was born off of that purpose, and we have been quite successful in the marketplace and quite unique in the sense that we're not brokers. We function as an advisor. We assist independent pharmacies, as you alluded to earlier, Todd, in the buying and selling process and help with not only guiding in the process, but providing them with the various resources and tools that they will need along the way. We do not charge for our services. There are no fees. There's no contract requirement. So we really make it very simple for an independent pharmacy owner to utilize our services. The majority of us, my colleagues and I, have a lot of experience in the independent pharmacy business. I, for an example, have been involved in independent pharmacy, believe it or not, close to about 50 years now, 43 of them with McKesson, and all of those 50 years have been spent really focusing on the independent pharmacy segment. So we do have a myriad of experience to offer. And we've, along the way, been able to assist in helping 4,000 different customers in the buying and selling process. A couple of things that we do that are also just as important is we get involved in assisting those pharmacists who believe that they are entrepreneurs and looking for that opportunity to open up a brand new pharmacy. That's one of those value-added services that we also provide. Again, a collection of resources and tools that we provide them to make it much easier for them to select the proper site, to build a business plan, and get the funding necessary to be able to open up their own brand new pharmacy. Along with that, Todd, we also get very seriously involved in the various schools of pharmacy across the country, and actively looking for that next generation of entrepreneurs. We work very closely with the NCPA chapters in all of the schools of pharmacy, and provide them with presentations, speaking to them about things like how to open up a pharmacy, things like how to do a business plan, try to encourage them where necessary, and give them the support that they need while they're in school until they graduate and begin to make their career decisions. So we're very proud of that, and that's kind of the breadth of what we do. One other sidelight to that I might mention too, Todd, is that we also support the NCPA ownership workshops, which it entertains anywhere from 7 to 100 attendees 3 times a year. And it's those folks that are looking to get into pharmacy, open up their own and or buying another pharmacy, and are looking for a boot camp, so to speak, to be able to understand the operational skill sets that are going to be required for them to be successful. We're proud of that and proud to be a sponsor of the NCPA Ownership Workshop.
So what I understand just from talking to pharmacy owners, and I came from the technology sector and institutional pharmacy, but obviously I trickled into community and the combo shops and specialty pharmacy. I noticed the stress going into pharmacy ownership as well as coming out of pharmacy ownership. And there's so many facets of selling or buying a pharmacy, understanding the market that you're in and understanding, do I keep a pharmacist that's on part of their staff because of the reputation of that pharmacist with my customers or the patients, and the resource links and the financing, and am I getting a fair price for my pharmacy? And there's just so much to this. So having an organization that has been through it over 4,000 times, that's pretty big, and that would make me feel so much more secure. Jim, what do you think the number one fear is of a buyer, someone who is looking to get into pharmacy ownership?
Well, it seems to be, Todd, the biggest challenge and their biggest fear just kind of seems to be at the moment those specific profit challenges, regulatory challenges. I get questioned all the time. Help me understand, Jim, from your perspective, where's independent pharmacy going here? Is there room for another independent? And those specific challenges I need to be constantly aware of. And that is a question I get a lot. And my answer to that, Todd, is that I truly believe if that individual has that entrepreneurial spirit, has the knowledge and the experience behind them that gives them that fundamental understanding of independent pharmacy and how to manage an independent pharmacy, and truly believe that if they've got that and the right business plan, a good full understanding of the fact, and this is really important, that you can't just open a pharmacy today and fill prescriptions and suggest for a moment that you're going to be wildly successful and make lots of profit, because you just simply aren't. I think the realistic environment has kind of built itself in the sense that you have to be very diverse. You have to look around and do things in your pharmacy that add to your portfolio for your specific customers, offering them various other things besides just filling a prescription and besides being a counselor and providing them with the compliance information necessary. That you today have to think about what are those things in that market area that other drugstores aren't offering. Is there a need for it in that market area, and should I be doing that? And that's what makes for successful independent pharmacies, Todd, is that ability to diversify, plan well ahead of time, to be able to understand your market and not just what your competitors are doing, but what they're not doing that might necessarily be a great match for that market area.
I understand that there's some communities, Jim, who don't really have any other healthcare provider inside that community except their community pharmacy. in their independently owned pharmacy. And it saddens me when I hear a pharmacist who has been in business for 20, 30, 40, 50 years selling to a big national chain because they're not sure what to do. Now, I'm not saying every time, because I'm sure there's occurrences where a pharmacist owner might own 6, 7 pharmacies, and in one territory, there was no other choice. But before getting to that conclusion, at least just reaching out to the team and making the assessment and giving the information and coming up with some metrics that a pharmacy owner can be guided through, since you've done it so many times, I think at least it gives them a choice, and it gives them the vision, and it gives them all of the options and information before making that decision, and keeping that pharmacy in that community, that rural community, as a community pharmacy and as a privately owned pharmacy, which I still believe, Jim, even though I advocate for all of pharmacy, I still believe that the best healthcare services being delivered to a community through a pharmacy is still coming from that community pharmacy owner.
Couldn't agree with you more, Todd. Couldn't agree with you more. And it's just as much a challenge for me personally to assist those folks who want to begin the process of selling their pharmacy, and as much as it is in assisting those who of course want to buy. It's a different set of challenges. In many cases, as you indicated, this is an owner who's been in this community for 30, 40, or 50 years and obviously never has sold a business before. So for goodness sake, how in the world could we expect them to feel comfortable about the process when they've never done it before? So, what we try to do, first of all, is ensure that motivation is there. Are you truly, have you made that decision? Have you talked to your family and your family's all in on that decision? Because let's face it, from a quality of life perspective, you've lived life with a certain at a certain quality and did that. Your entire family's participated in that because of what you did as an entrepreneur and the resources that business provided you to be able to substantiate that quality of life. So they're eager to find out what this next step in their life is going to look like and how to get there. I think the first thing you do to try to make them feel comfortable is, look, let me help you understand what your business truly is worth. And we can do that through the valuation process. And once you feel comfortable with that and where potential buyers are going to come in and make offerings, then you're going to have somebody like me sitting there assisting you in that process every step of the way. So you're not going to feel alone at this. You're going to have a guide throughout this path. And, the plan here is to ensure that you maximize all the proceeds that you can get from selling your pharmacy, and to be able to phase then into that next stage of your life, that retirement stage of your life, with certainly enough assets to be able to carry you on for the rest of your life.
So what I'm excited about in continuing with this subject through RxOwnership's sponsorship of this series is further discussions with other leaders on your team, part of the RxOwnership family. We're going to be featuring Tammy McDonald in an upcoming show, who will expand upon some of the benefits and services provided by the RxOwnership team, as well as Mr. Kim Demond. So I'm looking forward to those, Jim, and I'm just looking forward to getting multiple perspectives about pharmacy ownership, selling a pharmacy, purchasing a pharmacy, expanding your business. You might be listening to the show. You might have 3 pharmacies. You know of someone that is 20, 30 miles away from you that's a pharmacy owner that you've known for years, and you're wondering, how do I approach this guy or this gal who has been perceived as a semi-competitor of mine for years, and how do I do it? How do I, expand my business by purchasing theirs? And in my mind, the quickest answer I would say is reach out to RxOwnership, use them as the professional go-between. It kind of takes some of the emotion off the table. I've encouraged pharmacy owners to look into the program because of the intelligence that's part of your team. So I'm excited, Jim. I'm excited about this series.
And we're very proud of what we've done here with RxOwnership, Todd, very much so. And you mentioned Tammy McDonald, and very recently just came back from our annual Idea Share event in New Orleans, and we kicked off a Women in Pharmacy initiative very successfully, thanks to Tammy and her leadership. And I think all of us see the opportunities here. The majority of the students in schools of pharmacy now are indeed female, and it's a large majority. And we've just got to try to find a way now to ensure that there is a good path for these individuals to get into ownership. And I see good things happening there. I had one day this last week, as a matter of fact, working with 3 potential buyers, all female, and all buying very significantly sized independent drugstores. And I think that validated for me that the amount of efforts that we put into this Women in Pharmacy initiative. And to anyone who wants to hear more about that, we're going to be at the NCPA annual meeting here in October the 12th through the 15th, I believe it is. We're going to be at booth 801. And if you want to know more about that Women in Pharmacy event specifically, stop by and see Tammy or see any of us in our booth. Kim Diamond will be there as well. And Kim has been working very closely with setting up schools of pharmacy with programs in which they're called expert panels, where we bring up some of our existing independent pharmacy owners and talk to these students about the challenges and the opportunities that exist. And we just feel so passionate about our responsibility to preach that gospel to these folks, to ensure that they understand that there are people out there to help them as they begin to weed through and make their career decisions. And indeed, if it is that they are looking to open a pharmacy, we want them to know that there is a good, clear path to get there. So, we're very proud of what we've done, Todd.
Well, Jim, I want to thank you. I want to thank Mr. Chris Sella, who's your national vice president, kind of oversees the whole team, Mr. Quarterback. And I'm excited about the upcoming NCPA. The Pharmacy Podcast will be there as well. And look forward to the rest of this series. So thank you, Jim.
My pleasure, Todd.
You were listening to the Pharmacy Podcast show. We were just on with Mr. Jim Springer. He's the South Region Vice President of RxOwnership, and we thank you for listening.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Pharmacy Podcast Show. Be sure to subscribe to the show and send us a voice message with your ideas and comments from our contact section on the website. Contact us today at pharmacypodcast.com.